One of the hardest pill I have ever had to swallow is coming to that realization. And coming to that realization didn't come to me in a moment of defeat, but in a moment of deep reflection. I looked at the patterns, I looked at the recurring themes in my life, and I finally stopped looking for who to blame. And I realized I am the problem. Welcome back to another episode on Let's Talk About It, the podcast. I am your host, Karen, and today we're going to be getting very uncomfortable. We are going to be talking about the liberation that comes when you stop being the victim to your own circumstances and start realizing that you are the common denominator in your own drama and nobody else is. If you always feel unlucky in love, or if your business is always just about to take off but never does, or if you're constantly surrounded by toxic people, we have to talk about the energy you bring to the table, or the energy you bring to the room. Today is not about self-hate, it's more about self-ownership, self-reflection. Because if I am the problem, guess what? I also have the solution to that problem. I also am the solution. So grab your tea, grab your water, grab your journal. We're going to have some type of deep cleansing today. Let's get into it, guys. So now let's break this thing down. When I say I am the problem, I don't mean I am a bad person per se. I mean, like, I have come to realization that I'm the gatekeeper of my own progress. Like, if something is not going right for me in a certain way, it simply means I'm certainly doing something wrong to not make things go right at a particular point in time. Because we are not going to, at some point, we are not going to blame everybody and everything around us, but we have to sit and reflect. For a long time, I had this list, like this mental list of where things weren't moving as fast as I wanted. It was the economy, it was the wrong people coming into my life or my space. It was just bad timing. I was the hero in everybody's story and everyone else was the villain. But then I had to have what I call the mirror moment. Every time that I sit and something isn't just going right, how come I am good to everybody and everybody just seems bad and just doesn't like me, or people just have ill intentions towards me? I'm the hero in everybody's story and people just seem to be the villain in my own story. I used to have that mentality, and it was so bad because whenever I'm having a conversation with my mom, it's going to be she's always telling me that, sometimes you have to sit and think of the actions or the things you say to people for them to do or for them to act the way they act towards you. And I will always try to make it look like as if I'm the victim, like I'm the problem. People just don't get me. They don't just know how to communicate with me, and that's not my problem. If I take out time to try and understand and communicate with people, I don't see anything wrong in why they shouldn't take out the same time to try and communicate with me in the language I understand, or try and get to know me better, or try to do this. Like, everybody seems to be the villain in my own story. And I'm the hero in everybody's story. And guess what? It's very okay to be the villain in somebody else's story. We strive to be good people. But if somebody sees you as a villain in that story, it's okay. All you have to do is reflect and understand why this person sees you as a villain in their own story. I was looking at a situation that kept repeating itself. Maybe it was a specific type of situationship, or a project that just kept stalling, or something that helped like a career growth wise in my life. And the voice in my head or in my spirit asked, Who is the only person present in every single one of these failures? Me, right? I'm the only person that is always present in every of this situation. It was me. I was the common denominator. I was the consistent factor in all of this situation. A situation, like I always say, I have never been in a real relationship before. It was always situationship. And I had to sit and think and reflect that. Okay, maybe these boys, maybe these boys aren't actually the problem. Maybe I am the problem. And it's okay. It's okay because the moment you realize that you are the problem, what happens? You try to figure out a solution, right? That's the next best thing because it's one thing for you to figure the problem out or realize that there's a problem, and it's another thing for you to actually find a solution to that problem. Okay? Okay? I realized that I wasn't the victim of bad luck. Like I said before, I was the victim of my own lack of boundaries. I was the one saying yes to everything, saying yes to people, saying yes, even things that did not make me. Oh my god, I didn't know how to say no to people. Do you know how bad that thing is for you not to know how to say no to people, even when it's not comfortable enough for you, or even when you have to, what's the word, you saying yes even though you are going against your principles and your standards and your value, you still say yes. I didn't know how to say no, even to people that God had already told me long ago to let go of, to leave alone. I was the one waiting for the perfect timing to launch, which was really just me being afraid to be judged or being afraid to let go. I was the one pouring 5-star energy into 1-star people and then being mad when I feel or I felt disposed, giving my energy to people who really don't deserve it. And whenever I feel drained and I expect them to come to my aid, it doesn't happen. And it's sad. It's sad because I now start resenting them. I would have saved myself being in such situation, but because of the fact that I was so scared to say no, I stayed in such situation, and it drained me physically, emotionally, and otherwise. And it like God had already given me a sign to, you need to let this person go. He's not serving the purpose that he's meant to serve, especially in all the situationships that I found myself in. I knew deep down that this person wasn't good for me and I should let go. But because of the fear of what would this person say, what will people say, the fear of being judged and the fear of being alone, like, okay, while I'm still trying to be with this person, let me keep my option open while I'm trying to talk to other people. So by the time I let this person go, I'm already solid with another person. And guess what, by the time I let this person go, I'm jumping into another situation entirely, starting afresh. So the circle continues. Do you know, at some point I had to stop and start asking myself, like, why is this happening to me? The question, like, why is it me? Does this happen to every other? Why is it me this thing is happening to? What is in me that that is allowing this thing to stay? Like, I started asking myself those questions. What am I doing that I am attracting this kind of people towards me? Why is this always happening to me? Has someone else had that moment like you, where you had to sit and reflect that, okay, what's going on? What's going on with me? Why is this happening to me? I'm sure it has happened to one too many of us. I'm not here to assume your situation, but I'm just telling you my own situation. Okay? The moment when you realize that the villain in your own story is actually just your own unhealthy patterns and habits. your own unhealthy patterns, your own unhealed habits, which simply means that you are the villain in your own story and nobody else. You are actually the villain in your own you like you is a reflection. You're talking to yourself in the mirror. You're talking to yourself in the mirror. And by the time you realize that, you have to also admit, we have to also admit, and guess what, when you're having that mirror moment, I call it the mirror moment. The mirror never lies. It reflects who you are. It reflect, and not in a literal sense, like when you mirror, okay, what's going on, wait, what's this, what's that. What is in the mirror is who you actually are. Am I getting somewhere? Am I getting somewhere? We have acknowledged that we are the common denominator, but we aren't staying in the problem. We have established that we are actually the villains in all our story and nobody else, Abby. We are not. It's not something that we are actually trying to play trying to play blind trying to play the blind eyes to us. We're accepting that we are the villains in our own story, Abby, and nobody else. Now that we have accepted that I am the problem, now we have to also accept that I am also the solution. So as we have figured out the problem, we are now going to figure out the solution to that problem. And one of them is swapping excuses for execution. Like, instead of making excuses, you are going to start executing. Oh, what if he changed? No, we're not going to make excuse. You're not going to make excuse for that grown up adult that is well aware of his actions, or her actions. You are going to stand on your ground, on your principle, and say, no, I don't deserve this. I'm not going to take this from this person, and I choose to love myself more, and I'm walking away. See, the first thing I had to change was my language. I had to stop saying I can't and start asking, how can I? So how can I leave this situationship? How can I do this? How can I do that? I realized that my excuses were just comfort zones in disguise. Accountability means you stop explaining why you haven't done what you're meant to do, and you just start doing. Even if it's messy, even if it's not Instagram ready yet, you just execute. Why I haven't started posting that content yet? You don't you just start executing, even though your phone is not the best of it. Guess what? This is a borrowed phone that I'm using. I'm not even using my own phone. It's a borrowed phone. At any point in time, the person can come and collect it. That's not an excuse that I'm going to stop when the person comes to collect it. I'm actually going to continue and start using my own phone. Do you understand? Like, you're not going to be giving excuses anymore. You up and leave. If he doesn't change now, he's not going to change tomorrow. If she doesn't change now, she's not going to change tomorrow. You up and leave and start finding strategies to leave that situationship. If the person is not treating you how you're meant to be treated, you bounce. You bounce. Okay, you bounce out of that situation. You don't have to be there. You don't have to deal with those bullshits. You have to leave. I am the problem. I am the problem. Me choosing to be in this messy situation, I am the problem. And the solution to me not being in this messy situation is walking away. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. But guess what? It still gets the job done. By what? Removing yourself from that messy situation. Another one is swapping accessibility for exclusivity. Swapping accessibility for exclusivity. Now, how is this? Boundaries. Simple. A lot of my problem were actually came out from being too accessible for everybody and anybody. When you shine teeth with me, I give you a lot of access that I'm not even supposed to give you in the first place. I let you have such access towards me, and that's crazy, because at the end of the day, you start accepting trash into your life. So the wrong type of energy just comes, and it now mixes up with your good energy, and everything becomes so chaotic, and it becomes a mess if you let anybody and everybody walk into your life how they please. you're going to stomp, like you're going to be a footmat to them. You see the way people you see footmat in the entrance of a house. Anybody just can just walk on that footmat, and it becomes, but with time you see how horrible that's if they don't even keep the footmat clean. You see how messed up and dirty that footmat is. That's how you become people's footmat. You become people's footmat. You become, and before you know, things start to miss. Imagine having letting everybody and anybody come into your house. Before you know, small by small, some little things will start to missing. Before you know, big things will miss. But somehow, some way, things start to miss. You start looking for things in your house. That's basically what happens in your life when you become too accessible for everybody. When you become too accessible for everybody. And that happened to me. I had to come to a realization that being a woman of God and a woman of substance, I have to guard my peace like it's a high value asset, because it is. It became a precious, like the moment I stepped into God and He gave me the peace that I couldn't explain, I had to guard that thing with my whole life. And by guarding that thing, I had to screen people. Yes, it becomes a job, a full-time job. You screening people that you let access into your life. It becomes a full-time unpaid job, but at the end of the day, it's for your own good. I had to start assessing, not even giving people accessibility to my life. I had to start scrutinizing people that comes into my life, because at the end of the day, my peace is too precious for me to want to jeopardize. I have come too far to work on it. It was, I see, I'm not going to downplay the work that was done, but it was done. Work was done, and having to come this far and still acting the way I used to act and letting any kind of person have accessibility to me simply means that what I did before was rubbish. Because you keeping the house clean and still letting everybody and anybody come into your house doesn't make any sense. It absolutely makes no sense. Now the next one is swapping self-sabotaging for self-sanctification. Basically, instead of self-sabotaging, instead of casting down yourself, instead of, that's the final one, instead of making it look like as if, okay, you are not worth anything, you start seeing yourself as something. See, there's a spiritual shift to this thing. I had to align my identity with that of Christ, because I knew who God knew who I was in, who I am in Him, and I had to start seeing myself how God saw me. So instead of me to self-sabotage, I had to start self-sanctification. Period. I refused to see myself as that mistake that I made in time past. I refused to see myself as that. And I started seeing myself as the person who God sees me and who God calls me to be. To be honest, self-sabotage is usually just us trying to prove our insecurities. We have insecurities and we are just trying to prove those insecurities right, which doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, when you move into self-sanctification, setting yourself apart for God's purpose, you realize that you don't have time to be the problem anymore. You are busy being the vessel to be used by God to fulfill His purpose here on earth. You're no longer self-sabotaging, you're now self-sanctification. You're now self-sanctifying. Rather than self-sabotaging, you're self-sanctifying. And that's a very beautiful thing, because now there's a shift both physically and spiritually. And when there's a shift spiritually, it starts to come to the physical, because your mindset has changed. You don't see yourself as those things that you did in the past. You are now seeing yourself in a different light. And when you start seeing yourself in a different light, you start to move differently. And it shows. There's nothing anybody can tell me. It shows in how you talk, in how you walk, in how you act, in how you interact with people, in how you behave. It shows, because now there's a shift. No more insecurities. No more insecurities. You feel comfortable in everything that you do, even the things that you wear. Haven't you seen people you might people dressed a certain way, and when they don't like that their outfit, oh, they feel that their body is not good, their body is not this, that, they give it to somebody that maybe have a different body entirely, but because of the person has confidence in themselves and in their body, they look better than the person who originally has that outfit. I used to be that back in school. My sister would give me beautiful outfits. I wouldn't think, because I have my eyes somewhere else. I wouldn't think that I'll look good in them. But by the time my friends wear those same clothes that I was thinking that they look so beautiful, my sister will be like, "Oh, I'll give you clothes if your friends will be wearing them." And I didn't know I was actually fighting an internal battle till now. Up until I came to Christ and started working on myself and realized that what I was fighting back then in school was an internal battle that I myself didn't know that I was actually fighting. And it's actually a real deal. You will be fighting things that you don't know that you're actually fighting. The What now makes it a good one is when you actually come out of that, and then you realize that I was actually fighting something. Because if you let that battle swallow you, it's bad enough that you don't even know what you're fighting, that you're fighting something, and that thing eventually swallows you. It's bad. Like, is a lose-lose situation for that person. It's a lose-lose situation for that person. See, changing, let's tilt that into cooking now. Changing recipe can be hard sometimes, especially when you're used to one particular type of recipe. Once you're trying to change it, you kind of have like a little doubt, like, will this come out right? You want to stay in your comfort zone and continue with the same recipe that you have known for years. Sometimes it's going to feel some type of way. People who like the old version of you, the version where they could walk over, or the version that stayed stuck with them, might not like the new dish that you that you're serving. And it's true. It is true. By the time you come and give that some people the new recipe, they'll be like, because of their palate is not used to that new dish that you're giving them. They're used to the old dish that you're giving them. So by the time you give them a new dish, their palate, it feels strange on their palate, and they'll be like, this doesn't taste. I like the old one that you give me. This doesn't taste nice. And that happens to us too. That happens to us too. By the time you give people a better version of yourself, be people that used to walk over you, people that used to downgrade you, by the time they see a better version of yourself, they'll be like, I'm not used to this version of you. I like the old you where they could walk on, the old you where they could trample on without being bad, the old you where they could do whatever they want to do without feeling sorry. That's the old you that they want back. But news flash, baby, the old me is gone. This is the new me. If you're not getting on board and getting on with the program, bounce. 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 I'm not meant for everybody, and guess what? Everybody's not meant to be in my life. The only people that you will work strongly and better with is those people who align with your values, your purpose. We've said it here on the podcast. People who align with your values are those people who are going to be okay with the new person that you are, because guess what, you people's values and every other thing align. You people's purpose also align too. So don't be sorry for being a better version of yourself. I am the problem, and guess what, I am also the solution to that my problem, and it can only be better when I start working on the problem. So yeah, I'm very okay. I am the problem, but I'm also the solution to that problem. I hope we had a wonderful time, because I did. And if you did enjoy this episode, please don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe. It is very important. It's very important we do all 4 of them. And I'll be seeing you guys same time next week. Do have a wonderful week ahead of you. Bye.